The Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn has heavily criticised the government for what he has described as a woeful response to flooding in Yorkshire and the Midlands. 5 days after the flooding began, the Prime Minister will this afternoon chair a meeting of the government's Cobra Emergency Committee to discuss the issue. About 400 homes have been flooded and 1,200 properties evacuated. 5 severe warnings remain in place on the River Don in South Yorkshire. Well, Tolu Adeoye reports.
They say it's never been this bad. The village of Fishlake near Doncaster still submerged. Hundreds were forced to leave their homes as the water moved in. Many parts remain under several feet of water. The Prime Minister is to chair a meeting of the government's emergency committee, Cobra, in response to the floods. But today the Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn said it was too little, too late.
The Conservative government's response to the floods has been woeful. Just imagine if this had happened in Surrey instead of Yorkshire and the East Midlands. I think there'd have been a very, very different story.
Meanwhile, the Liberal Democrat leader met with volunteers helping the effort near Fishlake. The party has set out plans for a £5 billion fund to improve flood defences across the UK.
It's a really inspiring sense of community spirit that is going on here, and that does give great cause for hope, really. But it is wrong that it seems to be just down to the local communities, important though this work is. This is clearly a national emergency and the government should be declaring it as such.
£2.6 billion is being spent on flood defences in England in a scheme that started in 2015. For those affected now, there are serious questions about how this has been able to happen.
I want to go back and see what's happening, but there are no answers to the questions. You know, I need to know, why did this happen? It hasn't happened in 100 years. You must have seen that. Loads of Fishlake residents are saying exactly the same thing.
The National Farmers Union has called for a seismic change to cope with events like this. An emergency appeal to support displaced families has raised more than £50,000. But thousands more will be needed to help those affected, as what is a personal disaster for so many turns political. Tolu Adeoye, BBC News.